Krishna. Sham Sindhu Prabhu, would you like to lead Kirtan?
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Om Vishnupad Purnamansa Pariprajaka Ashtottara Satasri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai, Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath, Shyam Mukund Radha Kunigiri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadip Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamana Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Rasananda Prabhu, your camera could be aimed a little more down. It's a better.
Okay. Thank you, Maharaj. Welcome, everybody, to Caitanya Charitamrita with His Holiness Jayādvaita Swami. It is Thursday, October 9th, 2025. Today we are beginning with Adi Leela 1752. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Guru Maharaj, would you like to begin?
Okay. Ibashe Koraila Tui Paban Pabani Pujan Koti Janma Hobetor Rodave Poton. You've made Srivas Thakur appear to have been worshipping the goddess Bhavani. Simply for this offense, you will have to fall down into hellish life for 10 million births. Purport: there are many tantric followers who, wishing to eat meat and drink wine, practice the black art of worshipping the goddess Bhavani in a crematorium. Such fools also consider this Bhavani puja to be as good as worship of Lord Krishna in devotional service. But such abominable tantric activities performed by so-called swamis and yogis are herein condemned by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He declares that such Bhavani puja for drinking wine and eating meat quickly plunges one into hellish life. The method of worship itself is already hellish, and its results must also be hellish, and nothing more. Many rascals say that whatever way one accepts, one will ultimately reach Brahma. Yet we can see from this verse how such persons reach Brahman. Brahman spreads everywhere, but appreciation of Brahman in different objects leads to different results. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Yayata mam prapadyante tang tataiva pajamyaham. I reward everyone according to his surrender unto me. Mayavadis certainly realize Brahman in certain aspects, but realization of Brahman in the aspects of wine, women, and meat is not the same realization of Brahman that devotees achieve by chanting, dancing, and eating prasadam. Mayavadi philosophers, being educated in paltry knowledge, think all sorts of Brahma realization one and the same, and do not consider varieties. But although Krishna is everywhere, by his inconceivable potency, he is simultaneously not everywhere. Thus, the Brahman realization of the Tantric cult is not the same Brahman realization as that of pure devotees. Unless one reaches the highest point of Brahman realization, Krishna consciousness, he is punishable. All people except Krishna conscious devotees are to some proportion pashandis, or demons, and thus they are punishable by the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, as stated below. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadhati Shapadantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Jatapadakamalam Shri Gunun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Puri Priye Vancha Kopatarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Pyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vashadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The context here is that Gopal Chapel, a rogue, has been disappointed because he was kept out of the confidential kirtan performances at Shiva Sangam. And so he vengefully set out a plate outside Srivas Thakur's door with paraphernalia for worshipping Durga Devi to make it seem that Srivas Thakur was worshipping Durga. So Srivas Thakur didn't take it very seriously, but this Gopal Chapel contracted leprosy and had to stay at a distance from the village. And now when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passes by, he's asked for mercy, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu refuses to give it. And responds this way, that you can rot in hell for 10 million births. So in the purport, Prabhupada makes important points. First, he identifies what goes on with the tantric sects who worship Bhavani and the crematorium and so on. And they, yes, they think that this is a great way for spiritual realization. That Mother Bhavani will bestow blessings on them for that. There's by performing these horrible practices, abominable tantric practices, they'll achieve a high state of spiritual realization. And people accept it, that yes, this person is a Paramhansa, he's worshipped the goddess and all of these, what would we say, esoteric or old ways, drinking wine, eating meat, and showing that everything is the same. There's no difference. I can drink wine, I can eat meat, it's all spiritual. And Prabhupada goes on to speak about this idea, the yatamat tatapat, whatever way you want, that's the way to go. Sarva kalavidam Brahma, the Shastras say everything is Brahma. Vasudeva Sarvamiti, Krishna is everything is Brahma. But Prabhupada points out that although everything is Brahman, the Brahman realization one reaches by following tantric practices, and the Brahman realization one achieves by following Vaishnava Sadachar or Vaishnava devotional service are different. The wine, the alcohol, the women, the meat, they're all Brahman because everything is Brahman. But that doesn't mean that the realization one reaches of Brahman, the Brahman realization arrives at in these things is the same as the realization of those who realize Brahman as the personality of Godhead. All right, I can stop there.
Saraswati Maji has a hand.
Pranams Param Pujya Guru Maharaj and all the Vaishnavas. Guru Maharaj, I'm just thinking, I know in the past whenever I've seen a difference in the responses given by Krishna or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you've always indicated it's not a cookie cutter, sophisticated AI sort of responses that you're going to get. But I was wondering whether you'd have some thoughts about why it was that when Ramchandra Puri criticized Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's eating of sweet meats, I think he said something like sannyasis shouldn't be eating that. He didn't really receive from what I recall, any direct punishment. But Amoga, the son-in-law of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he got cholera when he criticized the eating habits of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So I'm wondering, is it because Ramchandra Puri, being a disciple of Madhavendra Puri, would be a godbrother to Ishwarya Puri, so he was sort of senior. So if it's someone senior who's still seen to be doing something wrong, the junior person wouldn't really do much about that. But I mean, I don't know. I could be just thinking completely wrong. I'm just trying to understand why the criticism was for the eating, but one person got cholera and one person seemingly got no visible punishment. Hare Krishna.
Well, first of all, Ramchandra Puri was punished. He became became persona non grata among the Vaishnavas, and when he finally left Puri, everyone was happy. So that's a kind of punishment also. But more broadly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performs his pastimes with different objectives in mind. So he, in particularly, he instructs through his pastimes, and he may instruct in different ways. As you said, it's not cookie cutter. So with Ramchandra Puri, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed us in several ways that, particularly, yes, that one should respect a senior person. Guru Budva, it's said in the verse in that section, that he considered Ramchandra Puri his guru, because he was a godbrother of Ishwara Puri. So on those grounds, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu respected him. Yes, whatever he said is right. He says, I'm eating too much. I should cut my eating. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave that instruction. And of course, the instruction was given that, but if you criticize like that, then you'll be a rascal, and the Vaishnavas will want nothing to do with you. In the case of Amoga, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu punished him, but actually or material nature punished him. He blasphemed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then his father-in-law, his own mother, I think, cursed him for offending Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then by nature's arrangement or intervention, he got cholera. But when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard it, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revived him. He was dead or practically dead, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revived him because of his connection with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Anyone connected to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is dear to me. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave different instructions. So otherwise you just have the same pastime performed the same way, just with the names and faces changed. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu deals with different devotees or different people in different ways and gives different instructions. Hare Krishna.
We have some things in the chat. Praveen Prabhu writes, there are still such practitioners. One devotee approached one for getting rid of a powerful ghost haunting his brother's wife.
Yes, these people are still there. And sometimes, those who are not still here, they may be glorified as Paramahansas, and others may be also glorified. So yes, there are such, certainly tantrics still around, worshipping Devi, worshipping Shiva, and performing austerities in ignorance. Hare Krishna.
Praveen Prabhu writes, from this verse, does it indicate that worshipping Bhavani is below what Vaishnavas should do? I know she is worshipped in Puri and many Vishnu temples.
There are two kinds of Bhavani worship, or Devi worship. One kind is to approach Devi and ask for material benedictions. One may worship Devi, one may worship Shiva, one may worship other demigods, and seek material powers, material benedictions. And this is the business of the demons. Ravana was worshiping Lord Shiva, and many that Rikashura was worshiping Lord Shiva. The demons who were tried to kill Bharat were worshiping Devi. So there are many who worship Bhavani, but for material purposes, and especially, yes, for material purposes. Then the Vaishnavas also worship Bhavani. They also worship Devi, but they worship for attaining their objectives in the service of Krishna. So the gopis were worshiping Caitanya, who's Devi, the same goddess in another form, praying to the goddess, please be kind with us so that we can have Krishna as our husband. Rukmini Devi, on the day of her marriage, went to the temple of Lord Shiva and goddess Durga, and she also was praying, if I've ever done anything auspicious that might please you, and please let Krishna come and kidnap me. So the Vaishnavas worship Devi also, but only for getting blessings for advancing in the service of Krishna. I was with Srila Prabhupada on a walk with other devotees in Vrindavan, in a place called Gopinath Gardens. And there was a raised platform at one place with a tin roof, if I remember. And there was a small shrine in that place. And Prabhupada got up on, there was a few steps. Prabhupada walked up the steps to see what was there. And it was a small shrine of Durga. And Prabhupada offered full dandavats. And then he got up on his knees and he said that, yes, we're also worshiping Goddess Durga, but not like the materialist Dhanam Dehi, Rupavati Dehi, give me this, give me that, but like the gopis. Please let us be engaged in the service of Krishna. Shristi Stiti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Reka Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Pibarti Durga. My dear Durga, you're always carrying out the orders of Krishna, so you're very dear to Krishna. So please give us your blessings so that I can also be engaged in Krishna's service. So, yes, Hare Krishna.
Saraswati Mataji writes, would Ramachandra Puri's future outlook not be so bleak, like Amoga because of his connections with Madhavendra Puri, whereas Gopala Chapala has no such connections, so his punishment is more severe?
Well, I don't want to pretend to enter into Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's thought process. That could be one way of looking at it, but I don't have any reference from the Acharyas to refer to here.
Praveen Prabhu writes,
Also, but we could also look at it and see that Amoga offended Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whereas Gopal Chapel offended the devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is worse. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu might forgive an offense to himself, but not to his devotee. So he was ready to kill Jagai and Madhai, for example. Hare Krishna.
Praveen Prabhu writes, in CC we see those who offended, received a disease or destroyed. Nowadays we do not see this happening much, but the offenses are still continuing.
Prabhupada in a later purport cites the example of a person he met who had offended Krishna very grievously, and mentions that the person had become an invalid and had become an invalid on that account. So it's not that everything just goes unnoticed. We see that so many people now in this Kali Yuga become diseased or ruined in one way or another. Who can say where it all begins and ends?
Naveen Prabhu writes, what powers are possible through tantric mantras and black magic in Kali Yuga? And do practitioners typically go to the hellish planets?
Well, Naveen, you don't really want to do this. You really don't want to start practicing these things and risking going to hell. But there's a example in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's time that there was one Vishaki Sain who got, he would have been among the Durga worshippers and black magic people. And he, at one point, when he was apprehended and jailed by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, then Bhaktivinoda Thakur's family members came down with some serious disease, cholera or whatever. And so people were begging Bhaktivinoda Thakur, let him go, he's Bhagavan, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur wouldn't. But that kind of power seems, and we see that people get, Prabhupada mentions in Nectar Devotion, they get the power to bewilder people's minds. That's one of the siddhis. So that people think, yes, here's an incarnation of God, here's a great yogi, and so on. So all sorts of, and then we hear anecdotally that in Africa and the Caribbean and other places, people perform black magic and do get all sorts of powers. They get all sorts of powers to create trouble for people, or perhaps to, as mentioned in a previous comment, to free people from this or that. But they're in with the ghosts and the demonic creatures and so on. So, and it seems they can do things. These things are still possible, but are not. Yes, so these things are still possible. And do practitioners typically go to the hellish planets? What is that? Adhogachanti tamasa, Jaganya Gunavrittista, Adhogachanti tamasa. In the Bhagavad Gita is mentioned that those who Urdhvam Gachanti Sattvastha, those who are in the mode of goodness go upward. Vadyetishtanti Rajasa, those in the mode of passion stay here. And those who act in the abominable mode of goodness go down into the darkness. So, yes, people still, yes, typically can go to the hellish planets because they're already, as Prabhupada said in one place, they're already hellish. We read in the purport. Their activities are already hellish. And what do they expect in the next life except to continue? What can they expect except to continue in hellish life? If not on this planet, then they can go down. Tanaham Dushata Kruran Sangsareshun Radhama Kripamya Dishama Shubhan Ashri Shvebi. The demonic, Krishna says, I put them down into hellish life again and again. Mudha Yoni Shri Mudha Janmani Janmani. So yes, there are hellish planets. As Kapil Dev points out, even on Earth, there are places that are hellish during wartime. For example, places become hellish. And there are other places that are hellish even without wars. And people are condemned to live in the midst of all that. So it's not that karma is suspended. And certainly those who perform wicked and hellish activities in this life can go down to hellish life in the next incarnation.
Saraswati Mataji writes, Mr. Nair from Mumbai, who offended so many devotees, and Srila Prabhupada got terrible heart pains and died, in fact.
Yes, contemporary example.
The writes, thank you.
Okay. Shall we begin the next verse?
Yes.
Pashanti Shangharite Mor E Avatar Pashanti Shanghari Bhakti Korimu Prochar. I have appeared in this incarnation to kill the demons, Pashantis, and after killing them, to preach the cult of devotional service. Purport: Lord Chaitanya's mission is the same as that of Lord Krishna, which he states in the Bhagavad Gita. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuttanam dharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaturshkritam dharma sangsthapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Whenever and wherever there's a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Parit, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself in order to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish the principles of religion. I advent myself millennium after millennium. As explained here, the real purpose of an incarnation of Godhead is to kill the atheists and maintain the devotees. He does not say, like so many rascal incarnations, that atheists and devotees are on the same platform. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or Lord Sri Krishna, the real personality of Godhead, does not advocate such an idea. Atheists are punishable, whereas devotees are to be protected. To maintain this principle is the mission of all avatars or incarnations. One must therefore identify an incarnation by his activities, not by popular votes or mental concoctions. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave protection to devotees and killed many demons in the course of his preaching work. He specifically mentioned that the Mayavadi philosophers are the greatest demons. Therefore, he warned all others not to hear the Mayavad philosophy. Mayavadi Pasha Shunile Hoy Sharbhanasha. Simply by hearing the Mayavad interpretation of the Shastras, one is doomed. Of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't literally kill so many demons, but he killed their demonic propensity, as he did with Prakashananda Saraswati and many others. The devotees, we see that Srila Prabhupada is harsh or strong in his condemnation of the demonic persons, and especially the Mayavadi philosophers. He doesn't just take it, well, everyone's a philosopher, he makes these distinctions, just as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made distinctions. Parjanaya sadhunam vinashaya chadushkutam. Krishna protects the devotees and annihilates the demonic. Nishingadev had no trouble distinguishing between Prahlad Maharaj and Hiranyakashipu. He didn't come to save Hiranyakashipu and destroy Prahlad. Yes. Eta boli gela prabhu kurite gongusnan she papi dukkhabhoge nayai puran. After saying this, the Lord left to take his bath in the Ganges, and that sinful man did not give up his life, but continued to suffer. Purport: it appears that an offender to a Vaishnava continues to suffer and does not give up his life. We've actually seen that a great Vaishnava Paradi continuously suffered so much that it was difficult for him to move, and yet he did not die. And then there's another question.
Yes. Praveen Prabhu writes, is a demonic person or an atheist an offender by default?
Yes, that's what Prabhupada is saying here. Certainly, Vishnu Bhakta Smrita Daiva, Asuras Tad Viparya, the godly persons or the demigods are all Vishnu Bhaktas, and the Asuras are just the opposite. They're anti-devotion. That means offensive. Certainly anyone who denies the authority of the personality of Godhead is an offender, just as if you deny the authority of the government, then you're an offender to the government. So or you deny the authority of the king, you're an offender to the king. So yes, they're considered offenders, and they're considered demonic. Rakshasim Asrim Shaiva Prakratim Mohanim Shata Etam Drishtam Avashtabhya Nashtatmano Pabuddhya Prabhavantyuga Kramana Kshayaya Jagato Ita. Those who have these demonic atheistic views, everything is matter and so on, certainly offend the personality of Godhead, and they're considered asuras and rakshasas. Sonyas Korea Yobe Prabhu Nila Chale Gela Tata Hwete Yobe Kulia Grame Aila Yobe She Papi Prabhu Loila Shoron Ito Upadesha Koida Aya Karuna. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after accepting the renounced order of life, went to Jagannath Puri and then came back to the village of Kulia, upon his return, that sinful man took shelter at the Lord's lotus feet. The Lord, being merciful to him, gave him instructions for his benefit. Purport. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in his Anubhashya, has given the following note in connection with the village Kulia. The village originally known as Kulia has developed into what is now the city of Navadvip. In various authorized books, like the Bhakti Ratnakar, Chaitanya Charita Mahakavya, Chaitanya Chandrodaya Nataka, and Chaitanya Bhagwat, it is mentioned that the village of Kulia is on the western side of the Ganges. Even now, within the area known as Koladweep, there's a place known as Kuliar Ganj and a place known as Kuliar Doho, both within the jurisdiction of the present municipality of Navadvip. In the time of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the two villages on the western side of the Ganges, named Kulia and Pahar Apura, both belonged to the jurisdiction of Bahirdweep. At that time, the place on the eastern side of the Ganges, now known as Antardweep, was known as Navadvip. At that time, the place on the eastern side of the Ganges, now known as Antardweep, was known as Navadvip. At Sri Mayapur, this place is still known as Dweeper Mat. There's another place of the name Kulia near Kancharapara, but it is not the same Kulia mentioned here. It cannot be accepted as Aparad Bhajaner Hat, or the place where the offense was excused. That occurred in the above-mentioned Kulia on the western side of the Ganges. For business reasons, many envious persons oppose excavation of the real place, and sometimes they advertise unauthorized places as the authorized one. So this controversy goes back some time, at the time of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. This was a great issue because Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur identified that the actual Navadvip, or the actual place of the birth and pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was not on the western side of the Ganges, but on the eastern side, in what is now known as Antardweep. So this was objected to by the people at the present-day Navadvip city, who wanted to say that our Navadvip was the Navadvip where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed his pastimes. He had his birth here. He had so many things here. From a business point of view, pilgrimage is big business. pilgrims come and give donations and buy things and so on. And so there are places that subsist on the charity of the pilgrims. It becomes quite a big business. In Christianity also, there are places that are known for having this relic or that relic of this or that saint. They have a tooth, they have a this, they have a that. And people come, and yes, they patronize such places. They give contributions. Well, this was going on during the time of, up through the time of Saraswati Thakur, that the Brahmins in Navadip were saying that their place was the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the other places were places of his pastimes. But Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Saraswati Thakur rejected these claims and put forward evidence from various writings mentioned here that these claims were not valid. By the time of Srila Prabhupada, this was sort of old news, particularly when our Mayapur campus was well established. As it is now, people come from all over India, all over the world, and they don't care very much about the present city of Navadip. They come to Sridham Mayapur. They come to Antardvip, where Mayapur is situated, and they don't even think about these other places across the river. Or if they think about it, they, for the most part, don't make much of it, because the holy places established by ISKCON are so hugely prominent. Even during Prabhupada's time, when our temple was had still not reached the level of fame that it has now. Somebody came and was making the argument that no, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's birthplace is in the present Navadip city, and they were putting forth their arguments. And Prabhupada told whichever devotee was in touch with that man, and tell him to go down the street and take this up with Gaudiya Math. He said, we're newcomers here. This is not our issue. Let the old people at Gaudiya Math continue to argue this issue. As Prabhupada said, the dogs will bark, but the caravan will pass. So no need for them to bark at you. Let them go bark and send them down the street, and let the Gaudiya Matwalas defeat them.
We have a number of things in the chat. Saraswati Masji writes, can we say Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't kill demons like Krishna, but converted the demons to devotees?
Yes. Hare Krishna.
Murari Gupta Prabhu writes, Hare Krishna Maharaj, how is Prabhupada using the word millennium in the verse from Bhagavad Gita? It is not the common meaning.
Yes, it's not. Millennium is 1,000 years. But Prabhupada uses it, Sahasra Yuga Paryantam, 1,000 yugas, or he uses it in other ways, but certainly that way, Sahasra Yuga. So the millennium in Prabhupada's book is usually the yuga cycle, the cycle of 4 ages. Satyatreta Dwapara and Kali Yuga, or sometimes any one of these can be a millennium. The millennium known as Satya Yuga, the millennium known as Kali Yuga. So Prabhupada, yes, isn't strict in following the dictionary definition that a millennium, coming from the Latin root for 1,000, is 1,000 years. Prabhupada uses it in his own way. Hare Krishna.
Praveen Prabhu writes, the impostor Kaliya at Kanchapara is still visited by many, those ignorant. One should be careful of many such impostor places.
Yes, these things are still going on. But again, it's like they've become reduced to negligible status by the importance of the ISKCON presence at Sridham Mayapur. But still, yes, devotees can be misled, and one should be careful. Hare Krishna.
Moving on to the next text.
Vibhas Panditer Sthane Achaya Parad Ta Jaha Teho Jodi Korena Prasad. You have committed an offense at the lotus feet of Srivas Thakur, the Lord said. First you must go there and beg for his mercy. And then, if he gives you his blessing and you do not commit such sins again, you will be freed from these reactions. So my forgiving you is contingent on Srivas Thakur's forgiving you. Now, this is the system. If one offends a Vaishnava, one has to seek pardon from that Vaishnava. Tobe Bipra Loila Ashi Srivas Shoron Tahar Kripai Oilo Papa Vimochan. Then the Brahmin Gopal Chapal went out. Gopal Chapal went to Srivas Thakur and took shelter of his lotus feet. And by Srivas Thakur's mercy, he was freed from all sinful reactions. Ar ek vipra ailo kirtan dekite dwara kaparta na paila bitore jaite. Another Brahmin came to see the kirtan performance, but the door was closed and he could not enter the hall. Piri gela bipra ghore mone dukapar ardin prabhuke kohe gangai lagapa. He returned home with an unhappy mind. But on the next day, he met Lord Chaitanya on the bank of the Ganges and spoke to him. Shapibo tomari mui pachi manoduk paite chindia shape prachanda durmuk. That Brahmin was expert in talking harshly and cursing others. Thus, he broke his sacred thread and declared, I shall now curse you, for your behavior has greatly aggrieved me. Shangshar Shukatomar Auka Vinash Shapshuni Prabhur Chitte Aila Ullas. The Brahmin cursed the Lord, you shall be bereft of all material happiness. When the Lord heard this, he felt great jubilation within himself. Prabhu Shapo Varta J Shune Shodhavan Ram Hashapa Hoitetar Hoy Praditram. Any faithful person who hears of this Brahmin's cursing Lord Chaitanya is delivered from all dominical curses. Purport. One should know with firm conviction that the Lord, being transcendental, is never subject to any curse or benediction. Only ordinary living entities are subjected to curses and the punishments of Yamaraj. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is beyond such punishments and benediction. When one understands this fact with faith and love, he personally becomes free from all curses uttered by Brahmins or anyone else. This incident is not mentioned in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Hare Krishna.
And pause here for kirtan. Krishna Prabhu, are you available for kirtan?
Yes, Vibhuti. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hare Hare Go. Om Vishnu Pad Paranasa, Vairaj Jagacharya Sutar, Shri Shri Maharaj Divine Grace, Guru Maharaj Das Goswami Ki Jai, Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paranasa, Vairaj Jagacharya Sutar, Sat Shri Shri Maharaj, His Divine Grace, Bhakti Siddhanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paranasa, Vairaj Jagacharya Asutar Sata, Shri Shri Maharaj, His Divine Grace, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna, Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasa, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. Jai Sri Guru Indra Jai Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai.
His Holiness Jayādvaita Swami Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Amalisa Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande.
Hare
Hare
Go,
Hare
Hare
Bol.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you all very much. Thank you, Krishna Kaitanya. Thank you, Rasananda. And thank you to all. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Hare Krishna Prabhuji's, Hare Krishna Mataji's, all glories.